Very good afternoon to my dear students, my dear colleagues, and to the speaker, Mr. Vishak Ghosh. On behalf of Coding Club, SRMAP, I express our gratitude toward Mr. Ghosh for accepting our request to deliver today's lecture titled Developing Web Applications Using Django. Mr. Ghosh is currently doing a PhD at IIT Kharagpur. He has vast experience in coding and participating in various coding competitions. His primary research areas are blockchain and distributed systems. He has already applied for 2 US patents in blockchain technology. Now, before starting today's lecture, let me say a few words about the Coding Club of SRMAP. This Coding Club is a student-run club which aims at increasing the coding culture among the students. A few of the activities of the Coding Club are organizing and encouraging the students to participate in various hackathons and coding competitions, providing a friendly platform to the students to discuss coding related issues or challenges they face in their daily life, keeping the students updated about new technological advances, etc. Also, the Coding Club has started a lecture series. Today is the first lecture of the series. So, my dear students, we encourage you to be associated with the Coding Club activities and have fun coding as a community. I am sure that it will help you in building your coding skills required for becoming a successful computer engineer or a computer scientist. Now, I will request our Associate Dean of Engineering, Professor Raghunathan, to deliver the welcome address to the audience. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Niladri, for inviting me. Mr. Ghosh, Dr. Niladri, Dr. Akash, Dr. Subrendra, and faculty members and students. So already we have got this coding club, okay, 2 years before we started. But this year, actually, we have taken serious steps to organize various, activities through the coding club. And that initiative is now led by Dr. Niladri. And they got actually, very good plans for conducting various activities through the coding club. By that way, they try to, increase the interest in coding. And so that our students will develop very good coding skills. You see, whether the students are actually going for higher studies or they want to actually join in a good IT company, good coding skill is essential. So towards achieving that, actually, the coding club has planned for so many activities. And the first of its activity is actually a lecture on developing web applications using Django by Mr. Ghosh. So I hope, all the students and the faculty members will enjoy this session. So with these few words, I thank once again the Coding Club organizers for taking this initiative, and I wish them all the success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I will request Dr. Subrendu Chattopadhyay, who has organized this talk and has worked closely with the speaker, to introduce the speaker and say a few words about today's talk. Over to you, Dr. Subrendu.
Yeah, hello. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. So it is indeed a great pleasure for me to introduce my friend Vishak to all of you. I personally know Vishak for a few years now, since he started his career as a research scholar in IIT Kharagpur. So he is currently working towards his PhD from IIT Kharagpur under the guidance of Dr. Sandeep Chakravarti. Prior to that, he completed his BTech from NIT Durgapur in 2018. And his area of research includes blockchains, distributed system, cloud computing, and computer networks. So he has published more than 10 papers in this short duration, okay, and including some of the prestigious conferences like IEEE Infocom, ACM SIGCOM, Mobile HCI, IEEE SCC, etc. So he has 2 US patent application in blockchain technology. He has also received a prestigious Microsoft travel grant for attending one conference that is IEEE SCC, and LRN Foundation International Travel Grant for attending IEEE Infocom in 2021. Now, apart from being a good researcher, Bishak is a very coding enthusiastic person. So he likes to implement systems. During his BTech, he also participated in various hackathons and coding related competitions. Now, he has completed Google Summer of Code in 2016 under Python Software Foundation. He led his team in Smart India Hackathon 2017 to emerge as the first runner-up in that competition. He has also won Spot Award for MAQ Software Winter Intern Award from IIT Durgapur. He was the technical lead for a 3-tier team of 50 people in the GNU Linux user group at NIT Durgapur. Now, you can read more about his works from his official website, which is already given in the invitation email. Today, he is with us to share his experience on the Django platform. Now, to say about this Django, it is a specific framework to build and deploy web application rapidly and efficiently. Now, this platform is a very popular among industries as well. The market leaders like YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Bitbucket, Dropbox, Mozilla Foundation, Pinterest, and many others are utilizing it for building their web applications. Now, therefore, we wanted to provide you with an exposure towards this technology. Now, without any further delay, I would like to request Bishak to start this talk. And I hope that you guys are going to enjoy this talk and will be able to utilize this technology in future as per your requirement. Okay. So with this note, I am yielding the talk and over to you, Bishak.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Subrendu and Coding Club for inviting me. Thank you for all those kind words. So also thanks to all the faculty and the students who are attending this talk. So let's just get started with this talk. I hope you can see my screen, everyone. So this talk is about Django, which is a framework in Python for building web applications. So we will, so before starting, we already heard so much about me, so I will just skip this. We are also past 10 minutes. So let's go to the outline of today's talk. So today we will be talking about, very briefly talking about internet and what is the web and how web applications work. So you will find many tutorials online from which you can learn Django or some XYZ, some other frameworks, Ruby on Rails, etc. But it's important to know that how these things came into existence and how web works and how web applications work. Then my plan is to do a short hands-on on Django, where I will be showing you how to build a very simple application, kind of a simplified version of Twitter. And finally, if time permits, I will talk a bit about React and GraphQL, which are very exciting new technologies. Probably all of you have heard. So why do we need such technologies suddenly, and how they can help you, and why you should learn them? So obviously, these are very hot topics also in the job market. These are really good skills to have to get a job in the industry. So let's start with. So let us start with a brief outline of the web. Okay. So what is the web? So by web, I mean we all use browsers. So we use our browsers to access the internet. So that is what we know as web, right? So the World Wide Web. Now these are basically formed as services which act on the top of internet, and primarily we use the web to access documents which are identified by some addresses called URLs or URIs. Okay, so so what we said that the web works on the internet. So what is the internet? So let us just spend 1 minute on this. So the internet is a very large network of computers. Okay, and very simply, the internet is this, and it is supported by some other devices also. I mean, which are, we cannot say that they are essentially computers, but so these are routers, switches, etc. And then this thing is very important, that all these devices which are connected in this network are running some very widely accepted protocols. Okay, so protocols like IP, TCP, HTTP. So you will all learn more about this surely in your computer networks courses in your college. So this is how the protocol stack looks like. So on the bottom there is your network, which is the physical, I mean the wires or wireless, the medium, and then the link layer on that, and then there is the network layer, then there is a transport layer and the application. Okay, so among all these complexity, we have got to pick one starting point. So obviously you will, maybe throughout your courseworks and everything, you will learn in more details about all of them, but we need some place to start. So we will be starting from this layer, the transport layer, okay, which has the protocol named TCP. So why are we choosing this TCP protocol as a starting point? Because it is very convenient for us users who want to build services on top of it. Because TCP is reliable and it ensures that the data are delivered reliably and in order. Okay, so you can think of TCP like a pipe. So there is a sender and a receiver. Now this sender and receiver can be anywhere. So these are just two computers, maybe my laptop and Dr. Subrendu's laptop. So say I am sitting in India and he is sitting in some other continent. That does not matter. So the TCP is like a pipe connecting end to end these two devices. And this pipe ensures that whatever data you put in the sender side will be received by the receiver side reliably, and the order of letters, say sender is sending hello, HELLO. So these characters will be received in the same order. So this H will be received first and the O will be received last. Right. So very simple. So you can think, I mean, you can think about TCP in very simple terms. So let us try with some examples. So I will just try to bring up a terminal and show you. So there is a very interesting tool called Netcat. You can install Netcat in your Mac OS or Linux, or I don't know if it is available in Windows or not. I hope you can see my terminals. So let me know if they are not visible. So using this Netcat tool, what we can do is create a TCP connection from one side and also listen and accept for TCP connection in other side, and in that way we can establish that pipeline and see that how this works. Okay, so what I will do is on this left hand side I will do NC, which is a command for Netcat. Then I will make it listen on a port. Okay, so this port is, so in computers there are addresses called IP addresses and ports. For now, just imagine that this port is the address, and we are working in only one computer. So the computer is named as localhost. Okay, so I will just I press enter. So what this will do is it will listen for TCP connections. Now on the other side, I can do NC localhost to say that connect to my own computer in the port 45. Okay, and press enter. So hopefully these two are connected. I don't see any error. Now if you type some message here, so you see I typed in this terminal and it went to this one. So this is TCP in action. So whatever you want to send, it will go from one direction to another direction, right? Very simple. So everything in the web works, or at least most of the things in the web works on top of this simple the protocol which is simple to think of, which is TCP. Now how does your browser work on top of this protocol? So your browser is also connecting to some server to fetch some pages. For example, google.com, when you type google.com, the browser loads a page. So how does that work on top of TCP? So say this is a browser and here is a server. Then using TCP, it uses a protocol called HTTP. Okay. Now HTTP is a very simple text-based protocol. So you can also read, it is human readable. I will just show you in a second. So it requests for documents particularly. So using an address. So suppose this server has multiple documents. For example, it might have a file called index.html, and your browser wants to fetch that document and display it. Okay. So it will send an HTTP request, and the server will respond with a message which is called an HTTP response. And in that response, it will also contain the contents of this document. And everything is going, all this HTTP stuff is going on top of TCP. So how does this protocol look like? It is very simple. It is a text-based protocol. So the browser sends some lines, just like I was typing hello in the terminal. It types get, then slash. So this is the address and the name of the protocol and some other information. So this is a request and this is a response. The response is 200, which is the status that, okay, I am able to find the document. And then after a new line, there is the document itself, which might say hi. So this is the response. So all this looks kind of complex in a slide. So let me try to show you by running it in a browser and a terminal. Okay. So let us see. So I will just listen to the same port. Now this terminal is listening for TCP connections, right? Now from the browser, what I can do is go to localhost and then the port 5555. Okay. So here on the left hand side in the terminal, you can see that it has received some data, which is basically an HTTP request, get this post localhost. It is asking for some data. Okay. Now I can try to find out or basically give it back some data. Let me copy it from the slide. And paste it in the terminal. Okay, just as I pasted this response HTTP okay, and then h1 tag hello world, in the browser you can see that this page has loaded. So this is how web application works. Okay, it is very simple through TCP and HTTP. So there is no magic going on. If you try, you can understand it yourself very simply. So now we have a way to somehow receive the request from the browser. So whenever I hit this URL, the request is going to this program netcat here. You can write your own program to do that. And whatever is given to the response by this netcat program is displayed by the browser. Now this text looks, you see these H1 tags are missing here, I mean in the browser. So H1 tags, these are the markup language, which is HTML. So actually the browser is receiving the correct document. If you go to these options and, okay, I don't know the UI. So if I press Ctrl U, it shows me the actual page. So you see what the browser has received. Whatever I have sent in this side, the browser has received that. Okay. Now we know that how on top of TCP, your browser is able to access web pages, correct? And also we know that how a web page can be styled. So this font can be made larger. We can give it color, etc. That is all done by HTML. Okay, you can learn more about HTML by searching it yourself, but this is very simple, and maybe many of you already know this. So these are just for styling purposes only. Okay. So we know how browsers work. Next, what next? So I just showed you this example. So what we can do in this way is we can build web pages. So the browser is asking for a page, say a document, say index.html, like the server may have a file index.html, and it gives back that document. So that document can have many eye candies. It can be styled using HTML, CSS, and it can be also dynamic using JavaScript. By dynamic, I mean it can have animations, and it can also load some data within the page data, etc. So it is like programming within that web page only. But there is, we have not seen any way where along with this HTTP requests, some change will be there in the server. So the server is constant. The browser is requesting pages and the server is returning documents which are already there. So it is kind of a static. So the communication, you can kind of think of it like a television. So you can, I mean, whatever you are requesting, the browser is providing, but you cannot upload stuff. You cannot put data. So that is the problem with web pages. So as soon as we try to incorporate that functionality where your data will be sent to the server, and then the server will use that data to generate a page or store your data and keep it and later use it, that becomes a web application. For example, in Twitter, whenever you post a new tweet, or in Facebook, whenever you post a new post, what happens is your data is going from the browser and to the Facebook server. There the Facebook server is storing it, and later you will be, or others will be able to see it also. So in that way, it is a dynamic thing. Okay. All right. Then let us just briefly talk about this whole idea about MVCs, and then we will jump to creating a Django applications, which I think will be very the most interesting part. So MVC is model view controller basically. So to build web applications, there are three parts. You see, first the data is coming from the user, and then that is being received in the server side. Then you have to somehow save that data, or basically process that data. So saving and processing that data and representing that data is done in a database or this part. Then there is some logic. Say you send someone a friend request in Facebook, then there is a logic that, okay, the friend request means that it will be pending first. Then if the other person accepts it, then it will be accepted. So then there is some logic involved. And finally, what you see on the page in your browser, the blue colored Facebook interface, the styling, etc. So data, logic, and presentation. These three components can be divided into specific modules called model, view, and controller, forming MVC. Okay. So model is for data. The data can be like this. There is a tweet, who is tweeting it, the user, the content, and the date time. The logic can be written in a programming language, like if the count of tweets is greater than 100, I mean the retweets, then that tweet will be trending. In this way, you can do logic. And finally, presentation is all about styling, your HTML, your CSS, how from this barebone data, where these are key value pairs, how you will represent this barebone data in a nice looking template. That part is done in a view. Okay, so all these work together. Actually, every component might be interacting with each other. View might be directly fetching data from the model. So it entirely depends on the particular framework you are using. Django does it in one way, Rails does it in another way. So it depends. But there are these three components: model for data, view for your templates, and controller for your logic. Great. So let us just see that how you can build a Twitter-like, simple Twitter-like application in Django. So So let me just go here. So what I will do is, it might be a bit confusing if you don't know Python, but see, all MVCs are same and you will find the similar patterns there. So if you follow this, then you will be able to learn any other format. Okay. So I will quickly start a virtual environment. If you know in Python, then it will be very obvious for you. Okay, so let me just show you that what is inside this folder. So I am in this folder called project and test. It is an empty folder. So this ls command shows you what is inside. There is only one folder called vm. You can ignore that. Okay. So what I will do is install Django. So how do you install Django? It is one command. Okay, pip install Django. As simple as that. You press enter and it will fetch everything from the internet and then install Django for you. Okay, so Django is installed. Now, if we press ls, obviously there is nothing there because we have just installed Django. We have not used it yet. So what we will do is we will be using this utility called start Django admin, start project, and then your project name. So Django admin, start project, and then let us name this simple Twitter. So now if I show you what is here, let us go to simple Twitter. Now I am in this folder, simple Twitter. Now if I show you what is here, see, these are the folders. Okay. So there is one file called manage.py. Then there is a folder called simple Twitter, and inside there are some important files called settings.py and urls.py. These are some important files. Anyway, I will just show you step by step what you need to do. I mean, these steps are kind of mechanical while you are using Django. Okay. So after creating a project, so this is a project. Now I need to create one application. So inside one Django project called, say, simple Twitter app is the project. We can have multiple applications. So we will create one application now. So how do we create an application? So we have one command called Python. We will use this manage.py, Python manage.py, start app, simple Twitter app. Okay, so that is the name. So I will do that. Python manage.py, start app, then your name. And I've just given it simple Twitter app. Press enter. So let us see how this has changed. Now we had this previously. Now we have something else. We have this application called simple Twitter app. Okay. And inside this application, there are some files. Here, the interesting files are these. Say, these views.py. This views actually holds controller as well as views. Okay. So kind of merged in one. And this models.py will be our model. So how you keep your data. Then we have another important file called routes, which is urls.py. Now these are the three files you can focus on. Don't worry, everything will get simpler and simpler as I proceed. Okay, we have to only concentrate on these three files: urls, models, and views. So in this URLs, what we will have is we will be writing that in which address what will be shown. So in a web application, there can be many addresses like /Facebook/profile that will display your profile. Then Facebook/timeline will display your timeline. So there can be multiple paths. So that is being stored here. Okay, let us jump into code and add some stuff. Okay. So I will be creating one route and one view, and then show you that how it works. But even before that, what I can do is here in the terminal, if I do Python manage.py, then write run server. So this command run server will actually run your Django project. So you see here, it has given me one URL also, which I can copy and open in my browser. So this is your blank Django project. So it says, it shows you that, okay, your Django application is working and everything is good. So what we will do is we will make some changes in the code. So let us just start a text editor here. I hope it's large enough to be visible. So here are the two folders: Simple Twitter, the project, and the app, Simple Twitter app. Inside this, we have views.py. So here we can create views. What are views? Whatever you want to display. And in Django, views also have the controllers. Okay, so views and controllers. So you can create your views and controllers here. So what I will do is I will just create a very simple view. Let us see. So I will creating a view in Django is defining a function. So I will create a view called, we can name it everything, index, and it will take a request and say return a response. So I need to import some stuff. Everything is there in the documentation. You don't need to worry. So I've just created this view which returns an HTTP response which says this. But if I go to the browser and try to access it, then okay, I need to start the app also. Manage.py run server. Nothing happens. The page is same. Nothing changed. Why? Because we need to add the route. It does not know that in which path it is. So we want that it will be accessible in slash. So the default path basically. So for that we can go to urls.py. As I said, urls.py will have the routes, and we can add a path, say empty. I have to import. So this is importing views. Which views? Simple Twitter apps views. So the views.py here. No magic. If you control click this, then it will go to that views.py. See? So now here I will just say that, okay, load this views.py. So views.index. And do I need to do anything else? I can give it a name that is a good practice. Okay, I think that will do. So I go to the browser again. This is the URL, I access it. So I need to start there. Oh. Okay, I'm getting some error. Let's see what is the problem. Okay, great. And there was a typo. So great. This is our very simple view. Hi there, I am a Django app. Now here, obviously, since this is a backend, you can do many things. So you can write any Python code here. You can do plus, and then let us do string and do 1 + 1. And then let us try to reload this page. So you see, it returns 1 + 1 = 2. So whatever you can do in Python, any logic you can write in your views. Correct. So this gives you immense power already. So you can write many complex applications with this only. So let us proceed. So we have a simple view. Now what else? So we can create templates to make this view look better, right? So we can go and create some templates. So where to create a template? So this is kind of a trick. So you need to know where to create a template. So in your app, which is Simple Twitter app, you have to create a folder called templates, and in that again you have to write this name of the app and create your template file. The template file is an HTML file. So all this is just to make your page look good and do this. So we need to, we will try to render an HTML page. So let us quickly go and try to do that. So in our app, I will create a folder called templates. Now in the templates, I will create a folder with the same name, simple Twitter app. And in here I can create index.html. So simple Twitter app template, simple Twitter app index.html. Let us just put some HTML code here. What I can do is, let me use this one. So this is an HTML, so you don't need to worry about this. Let me comment out some code so that it is. Okay, this is a very simple HTML with some styles to make it look good, nothing special. So it has some background colors, some fonts, one H1 tag and nothing else currently. So I have commented out everything. So this is the HTML file. So to use this, what we need to do that in the view, we need to use a function called render, which is already imported. It takes these arguments, so we have to pass request and then the path, and then an empty dictionary. So this is a way we can render. Also, we need to do one small change. So in settings.py, I forgot to add the app. So in settings.py file, whenever you are creating an app, you need to add something, which is the name of the app. I wish the script did this automatically, but no, this is a manual process. You need to write this. Okay, simple Twitter app. I have included this, so this should work. Let me try. So the server is running. I reload the page. So I get some output. This now looks good. Great. So now you know how to write controller. As you saw, we can write logic and we can also write views. So we can make it look beautiful using HTML. So we have already covered so much. So now the last thing is data. Like we need to see how do we create data, store that in a database. Usually, if you want to write SQL and everything, this tutorial would take a whole day. But with Django, these things are very simple. So what data do we want to store? We want to store tweets. So the tweet will have some content, a username and a date time to see that when it is stored, right? So to create a model which is data, we need to go to models.py, which is obvious, and we need to create a class here. So whatever, so this name tweet is for a table. So whatever type of data you want to store, or you can say this is an entity. So tweet is one entity, and then these are the different columns. So we have username. For one tweet, we will have the username, the content, and the date type. Great. So you need to do only this. Save this models.py file, and you are done. Now what Django will do, it will create the database for you, it will create the tables for you, it will do everything. You don't need to worry about anything. Just a pointer, if you go to settings.py and scroll down, then you will find that here there is a configuration called databases. You will find that it has something called an engine and a name. So what we are using currently, or this Django setup is using currently, it is using a tool called SQLite. So SQLite is a small database, which is a file-based database, and it will create the database file in the base directory. Anyway, you don't need to worry about this. So basically what this says, if you want to replace this database with say some other database, MySQL or Postgres, then it will just be one change of configuration and nothing else. What you need to do is just write your models in models.py. Okay, so we have created this thing. Now I will go to the terminal, not this one. Okay, so I will go to the terminal, and what I can do is yes, Python manage.py, then this command make migrations. So this command, don't worry, everything is in the slide, so you can follow it later. I will share the slides with you. So this command will create all the databases and all the tables for you. Okay, make migrations and migrate together. These two commands, migrate. So you see that there are a bunch of tables being created, and along with that there is something from our app, which is Simple Twitter app. So hopefully this has created the database. Now where has it created the database? So if we do ls, we can see there is a file called db.sqlite. So this is the database actually. But it is very difficult to see that what is inside, or difficult to, input some data for testing. So for that also Django has a very good utility called Django admin. So what you can do is you can create a Django super user. Create super user will create an account for you. Okay, so this create super user will create an account for you in the Django admin panel, and then you can access it. So how to access the admin panel? You go to your application, you go to /admin. Great, this is the Django admin panel. It comes built in with Django. Now you can log in with the username password just provided in the create super user command, and this will show you whatever models are there. But wait, I don't see any, I don't see the tweet model yet. So I need to do something else. So what I need to do is register this model that we created. That is also one line of code. You go to admin.py, which is already there. And there you just write admin.site.register, and then you pass the tweet model. Okay. So this one line will bring your model to the Django admin panel. See, simple Twitter app, tweets. You can open it, and you can add a new tweet from here only, and write something. Great, I can save it. See, tweet object 1. If I open it, I will be able to see the data. So this way I can input data from the admin panel, which is just for testing. So if we go back to the terminal, remember we have this database. So let us see what is inside this database and how Django is storing everything. So we can run SQLite 3, then name of the database. So this will open the SQLite database. Don't worry, you don't need to learn SQLite for using them. I'm just showing you how everything is stored and all. So I can list all the tables, and I have this table, and from this table what I can do is select star from this. This is an SQL statement, and it shows that there is one row. So we see that just the tweet we wrote from the Django admin panel is there. Fantastic. So we can see that this data is being stored in the database. So what next? We can store the data in the database, but we also need to view it in our own site. If you open the original site, this is empty. So we need to do that, right? So that is the most important part. So that, and after that editing. So to do that, what we need to do is write some queries. Now queries in Django are also very easy. So you don't need to learn SQL, you don't need to learn anything. It is just some very simple lines of Python. Okay. So let me just copy it, it will be quicker because I don't have so much time. I will go to views.py and replace this index page with this very simple line. So let me import tweet. So we see we have this view in the views.py. We had something like this already. I have just added these 4 lines. With these, what these lines do is, this line is very important. This is the main line. Tweet.objects.all. This line will bring all the tweets from the database and return it. Okay, so all tweets will have all the tweets. And then we can print it just to check that, okay, I mean, we are receiving the data. And here what I have done is created a dictionary and put this all tweets thing in the dictionary. Okay. So, and passed it in the context. So basically what is happening, this line is querying the tweets. And here I am passing this context to this HTML template. So this is data and this is template. Okay. Now we need to figure out where in the template to put this data. So we will see. Let us just wait and see if at least it gets printed or not. Okay, so I will just go to the web page, refresh it once, and go to the terminal where your Django is running. And we can see that yes, indeed, there is one tweet printed, tweet object 1. So at least in the print, we are getting the data. Now let us see how we can put this data from this code to the actual template, which is this index.html file. If you go to the index.html, Django has a very nice templating language. What we can do is using this curly braces, we can we can print the variables that are passed from the view. Okay, so if I do all tweets in curly braces, then we see that, okay, I see the tweet. But this is in a weird format. I don't see the content. I don't see the username. For that, you have to do something else. I mean, you have to write a bit more template code. So, which is here. We uncomment this quickly. Concentrate on this piece of code. It is very simple. So it is a for loop. For tweet in all tweets, like English, right? For loop in Python. And it is being written in this braces and percentage symbols for tweets in all tweets. What we will do is print the tweet.content, then tweet.username, and then tweet.datetime, and the loop will end here. So this portion of the code will repeat as many times as the number of tweets that are there. Okay. Okay, let's test. Great, I can see that. So hello, this is my first tweet by username, and then this is the date time. Okay. So let me go to the admin quickly. And add a new tweet, new user, second tweet, press save, then go back to our application, refresh this page. Okay, great. You can see that tweets are coming. So we already have a very, we already have a dynamic app. So you can imagine what you can build with this. In your college, if you are building a website for your college, then you can create your notice board like this. So in your database, when you have new notices arriving, you can put the new notices there and it will arrive in the front end. So you can already see the benefits. But okay, let us do some small changes also. So this is the second tweet. So this should arrive on top instead of the first. So that will be a very small change. Let me do that. So in the model, I see that there is date time. I need to sort our results by this date time. Now in Django, the sorting of results is also very simple. What I need to do is write dot order by and then write date time, but I will put a minus here. That will mean date, sorting it in the reverse order of date time. Let us save it and check. Great. Now second tweet is on top because it is most recent. That is what we want. already we have covered much ground. Only the last thing is left. What is the last thing? Users. You users should be able to post your tweets. So I won't go through authentication or anything, but I will just create a form and see how this posting of data works. Okay. Okay, so this is a very simple HTML form code which I will just copy. I think I don't need to copy. I have here also. Yes, this code. See, let us go through it slowly. It might look a bit daunting, but this is very simple. This is a form tag. I will remove this for now. In HTML, this is a way to create forms. So if I save this and go to the front end, we will see that okay, the form is appearing. But if I do something here, then nothing will happen. I can put some data, but nothing happens obviously because there is no logic in the backend. And also the form does not know where to send the data. So let us go back to the form code again. So this is a form tag. Here it is ending. It has two inputs. This input called tweet input and this one called user input. This will for entering the contents of the tweet and this to enter the username. And finally a submit button. Okay, very simple. Now this particular is a requirement of Django for security purposes. You have to include this particular template item inside a form, whatever form you take. So where do we want to send this data? That we can write in this form in action. So this will be very confusing. I will just write blank. Blank means the current page. Okay, so let us see. I will just do right click, inspect, go to network tab. This just is a browser tool which will help you see what is going on. So what I will do is some tweet username. Click post. So this will create a post request. Okay. So this, let me see, is it written anywhere post request? Oh my god, no. This tool is really bad. Anyway, so let us go stick to the code. So we have this form. We want this data to be arriving in our backend. Okay. So when we do a post, we want to see this data. So how to do that? This is also so where are we sending this data? In our view? Great, but we are doing a post request. You see this method equal to post. We are doing a post request. So in this view, we will be receiving some data. So how to access that data? That is our question. So let us, yes. So we will first see that if this method of the request is post, because otherwise we don't need to see the data. If request dot method equal to post equal to post, then we need to print, say we need to just see for now post. It will just print, and after this is if statement, it will execute these codes normally. So what this is doing, when you are loading the page, first it encounters this line. It checks that if the request is a post request with some data. So is it coming from the form or not? Simple. Then it is trying to print this post data. So let us go back to the browser and post it and see if the print is coming. This is my posting user. Click post, go back to the terminal. Let us see this tweet input. This is my post user input, posting user. Great. We already have the data in our Python code. What do we need to do? We just need to save it. We already are doing we already have the code on how to display it. So we just need to save that tweet. So how to do that? So That is also very simple. So no SQL, nothing is required. I will create a new tweet equal to tweet. This will create a new tweet. Awesome. Now I need to set the values. So tweet dot username equal to request dot post, because here we were getting the data, and here user input. Why? What is this user input? See, in the form, in the name, we had user input. Okay. So we are putting from that form, we are getting the data here. We are setting the username as request.post.user input, and similarly, new tweet dot content is tweet input. Finally, this is just creating the object. To enter it into the database, we have to do dot save. This line ultimately saves it in the database. Okay, great. Now let us just go through this again. What is happening when you are submitting a form? When you are submitting the form, your this will be true because you are posting some data. It will print this, which we can keep, no problem. It will create a new tweet. Username and content will be set from this post data, and finally the tweet will be saved. At this point, you have a new tweet in your database already. After this, there is no else statement, so it will just continue through this code also. So it will query all the tweets, which will also contain the new tweet, and then show all the tweets that are there. So let us just save this file, go back to this interface, let us reload the page once. Bingo. Then the user might be me only. Hit post. See. So this is a new tweet that came in. So you can write, I mean, anyone can access this, anyone can post a new tweet. Great. So we already have a working web application in these very simple steps. So what next? After this, you might want to share it also with your friends. So this one is running in localhost, so you won't be able to access it, right? So to quickly share it from your friends, there is a service called this pingy.io. So you can you can download from this website. There is a Linux version now only. This is a very simple tool. I'm just downloading it. I have already one downloaded. I can use that. So I have it downloaded. What I will do is run this program called Pingy, and so it needs something port. Which port? Let me see. So my Django app is running is in my local host, then 8000. So I will just enter this port 8000. 8123. What this program will do, it will give me a public URL with HTTPS also. So I don't know if I can post it in the chat. Or no, looks like I cannot post in the chat. So what if you access it from your browser, you will be able to access my application right now that I built. Okay, there is one small change. In the settings.py, I need to allow these things. This for security. So using this public URL, you can now see your app. Anyone can see your application now, hosting from your local host. Obviously, later you would need to, you would want to host it in a server and all, but this is end to end. You can build your application in a few hours and post it, right? Okay, so I will just ask the organizers. So do we have some more time, or should we end it here?
I think we can take 5 to 10 minutes more.
Okay, great. Then I will be just wrapping up very quickly.
Yeah, sure.
The hands-on
so
part is already done, so we can.
Okay, take your time.
Yes, you can very quickly go through some other concepts. I will not go through details, but I will just give you some pointers which might encourage you to learn these things. Okay. So this was a web application that you will be accessing from a browser. But we all know that you don't access your Instagram from a browser, you do it from your app. So how do these apps work in Android, in iOS? How do these work? So are these some other kind of applications? No. At the backend side, these are web applications only. So these are very similar to just what I built. Just the client is not the browser, and instead the client is some Android or iOS app. Okay. So the scenario is something like this, that we have one web application in a server. We have a variety of clients ranging from say platforms ranging from iOS, Android, your PC, which can have PC is covered by browser, so it is easy. You have smart televisions, you have your smart cars now, etc., etc. So even your smart refrigerator can also access your web apps. So how is that possible? So there is a requirement of some common way of representing data. For the browser, we have pages, but for applications, we only need to transfer the data and not the entire pages. So for this, there is a specification called REST APIs. And this web application, instead of rendering the pages entirely, they are now exposing these APIs, which look like this. So instead of rendering the page, it will give output in a JSON format. So before JSON, XML was very popular, but gradually JSON took over the world, and every protocol is now basically a JSON protocol. So this JSON data will be received by your mobile application or whatever, and it will be rendered in your application as per your wish. So this communication is now based on REST APIs. So how do you use REST APIs from your front end? So from your browser, what you can do is you can write some JavaScript code which can dynamically request for some data from your server. So this is an example code for JS and Django. You will find the code in my GitHub. I will give you the link. So I will give you an example. For example, in Twitter, if you keep the page open, you don't need to refresh. Whenever there is a new tweet, it will appear there automatically. So what is happening is that your browser page is running a JavaScript, which is running this load document or some function like this in a loop. It is basically polling. And whenever there is some new data, it is being refreshed. Great. In that way, the web applications are getting dynamic in the front end. So in your browser only, there is some logic which says how to manipulate the front end. From this, things are getting more and more complex. So if you see Flipkart, then you will notice that when you change some page, then the actual page does not reload. The data is being pulled by JavaScript and it is rendered. The entire page is being changed by JavaScript. So the entire page logic or the templating logic and the view logic is in the front end in your browser written as JavaScript. And when you are navigating from one page to another, only the data is being fetched through REST APIs. That helps in developing Android apps also, because your Android app will have a different logic, different client, and the REST API will stay common. Now, what this means is there is a huge complexity for managing front-end applications. I just showed you how to manage complexity in the backend with models, views, and controllers, how to simplify things. But now in the front end also, you need to have a framework like that. So that is where this framework called React comes into picture, which is developed by Facebook, which is hugely popular now. So, okay, so this is one example scenario that say there is an application server which is serving REST, which is exposing REST API. Then your views from one state to another, say in YouTube also, if you change the video, the page does not reload, the contents change. For example, in your Facebook's infinite scroll or your Instagram's infinite scroll, do you think the entire page is loaded at from the beginning, that infinite page? No. As you scroll down, new things are getting loaded. So those things are getting easier with React. As you scroll down, there will be more requests and more data, and the page will be populated. Okay, let me just skip this. And finally, another concept, I would have loved to get into more details, but I won't because of time. So GraphQL, this is also a very new technology, and obviously you should learn. This solves a very important problem of REST APIs themselves. So REST APIs, just like I showed, are basically designed as documents. So you have paths like /profile, which will give you the data of your profile. Then we have paths like /profile/Vishak that will give the data of my profile. But say if you need to get the data of 5 specific profiles, say mine and 4 others, then you will need to do 5 separate requests. So in that way, the number of requests increase. Okay. So you see this here. For example, in your Facebook post, there is, or in your Facebook page, there is posts, then comments, then authors, all data in the same page. You have photos. In the below the photo, you can see who has posted that photo. Below that, you can also see comments. Then with REST APIs, it will require multiple queries, and these number of queries can explode with the complexity of the application. For example, say Flipkart or anything like that, or Facebook also. So what GraphQL does is it is changing REST from a document or endpoint based API to a query based API. So now your request itself will have a query, and that query will be processed in your backend. So say 5 profiles, or say here post, comments and authors, the backend will combine all these queries and send back a single response. So this is like multiplexing in this HTTP request response space. So instead of throwing multiple requests, the client and the server are multiplexing it into one query and one response. So these are the new things that are going on, and you can see. So I think that's it. So thank you all for attending. If somebody has any questions, I can try to answer them. So you can find the code here in this URL. I will try to link it in my own website. You can search my name and find that. And these are some references which you can go and learn more about Django, React, as well as GraphQL. Thank you.
Okay, so dear students, if you have any question, you can write on the chat box. I think few questions have been answered already by Subhendu.
I don't see the questions, I think.
Chat.
Yes, I see them. Yes, yes.
Okay, so Mr. Ghosh, if you kindly share the slides
yes,
with us, and any materials if you want to share with us. So letter through email, you can please.
Okay, I will share that.
Okay, so if you don't have any more questions, so let us thank Mr. Ghosh for his time and effort. It has been a great talk, and I hope that our students will capitalize to this talk in practice. I thank all the participants, the students and the faculty members present here in making the first lecture of the Coding Club lecture series a grand success. I thank our Associate Dean of Engineering, Professor Raghunathan, to kindly provide the welcome note and extend his cooperations in making this event successful. Once again, I thank Mr. Ghosh for this wonderful talk. With this, I end today's session. And my dear students and colleagues, please stay tuned. A lot of such lectures will be organized in future. So take care. Okay, bye.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you all.